What is up, guys? Welcome back to Wild Rift University. I am going to be doing a video right now based on itemization, understanding how to itemize in a game, and like how to know if you're itemizing wrong. And there's different ways that I can kind of show you this. It's a very difficult thing to learn unless you understand the or the game situation, your champion, and the enemy champions really well. But it's also a very easy thing to learn. Usually, the issue that most players have with this is they're selfish and prideful. And also, they're not willing to break away from this right here. Okay? So, like, we'll just use Lee Sin as an example. They're not willing to break away from this. Like, oh, well, the best player uses this build, so I'm going to use this build of whatever champion it is that you play. I don't care if you play Morgana, if you play Yone, whatever it is. The best player plays this, so that's what I'm going to play. And I do more damage when I build this, so that's what I'm going to build. Okay? Learning how to itemize is forgetting what do I want to build and going to what do I need to build, or what does my team need to build, or what do I need to build in order to win this lane or win the game. What is my condition in order to make things happen, like for my team? So I'm going to show you like a couple examples and stuff through some of my games and everything, showing me, talking about me personally, and then also other players like in the games. So I'll give you guys like a quick example right here. This build that you see right here on Shen, this is basically the main build I do on him almost every single game. The variation basically switches between the last item. I'll usually do like Warmogs, or I usually never make it to the very last item because the game's usually over by then. But it's usually either Thornmail. It's always Heart, and then it's usually Thornmail, then Spirit Visage, then Twin Guard. But there's different reasons why I would fluctuate which one it is, and so I'll break that out, and I'll also break down my teammates and the enemy teams on how they itemize correctly or itemize wrong and things of that nature as well. And the biggest mistakes I see a lot of players do wrong in their itemizations, like for example, this game right here, I already see I see quite a few massive mistakes in some itemizations. So we'll actually, I'll just use this one as an example first. So every champion does have a core item that they have to go with, and you have to understand how core is that core item. Okay, so example, Heartsteel. For me, Shen. That item is extremely critical because I have to start stacking it, okay? I have to build that item first because the later I take to start building it, the longer it takes for it to start stacking. If you're a champion that builds Rod of Ages, you probably have to build that first. The only way that you would deviate from something like this, I'll show you an example real quick right here. So look at this game. I'm Twisted Fate. I'm building, I build Twisted Fate, more burst with a little less on hit and everything, which I know on hit Twisted Fate's pretty popular right now, or like mixed damage. So right here, I'm going against an Aurelian Soul. And I want to build my Twisted Fate with Rod of Ages. That's how I like to build him first. However, let's say I was going against like a Kali, okay? Or let's say I was going against, I don't know, think of a champion that you struggle with. That's the one ability that you really have to dodge, okay? And let's know that's the champion you really, really struggle with. I'm going to just make up a champion that I really, really struggle with right now on Twisted Fate. Let's just say I really, really struggle with Zed. Or I mean, not Zed. Let's say Akali. So I know every time I play against Akali, I get owned because she lands her little shuriken on me and then she dashes to me and blows me up. And I really struggle with that one ability. And every time I play against her, I always get owned. I always get fed. I always feed. So I need to ask myself two things. Like, okay, I like to build on Twisted Fate this build path right here. This is the build path I like to build on Twisted Fate. But because of the situation, and even though I know this build path gets me my damage the fastest and helps me scale the best, and in the long run, it will make me the best that I can be, sometimes you have to realize, okay, I'm going to sacrifice what is best for me to go what's best for the team, and technically what's best for you. Because if you feed the enemy Akali, like I said, since we're using that as an example, 3 kills in lane, now she's going to start roaming to other lanes and getting more kills, and then the whole team is probably going to lose because the Akali's fed and she's one-shotting everybody. Or what you could do is you could do basically the swallow your pride, realize that 1, this player is probably better than you, 2, unfortunately you got into a matchup that you're just not good at, and you're going to have to change the way that you approach it. 1, meaning you play more passive. 2, maybe instead of building Rod of Ages first, I'm going to build Crown first because I know that one ability really stops. Next thing I'm going to do, because I know I suck so bad at this, like I said, hypothetical situation, maybe I'm going to build Mercury Treads instead of building my attack speed boots, okay? But then you're sitting there like, oh, but that's going to make me weaker and I'm going to lose and da-da-da. So what? It's going to help you in the long run. So like here's a really good example, okay? When I play Morgana into Zed, okay, I really struggle against Morgana into Zed. It's just one of the lanes I always struggle with. However, I have figured out a way to beat Morgana into Zed. So anytime I play Morgana into Zed, even though I don't like this build path at all, I do the build path anyway, okay? This is the build path that I like to do right here with Morgana or Morgana just in general. This is how I like to build. Typically, I'll actually build Riley's Crystal Scepter first. It depends on the game. But this is like, for me, like this is my high damage build. But if I'm playing a Zed, guess what I do? 1, I drop Mana Flow, and I switch over to Bone Plating, okay? I don't like to play Bone Plating, but I do it because I need to. The next thing I do, you know the very first item I build when I play Morgana into Zed, because I know I struggle with it? Right here. Seekers. It's the very first item I build. As soon as I'm done building that item, you know what I do next? Ninja Tabbies, or steel-plated caps. Sorry, this isn't PC. I literally do it just like that. And you know what happens after you do that? Zed can't kill you. He can't ult you and kill you. He can't one-shot you. He can't all-in you. And then as soon as I finish building displayed teal caps, and like I said, I build this. I don't finish the item. I don't finish Reflector right away. Sometimes I will, depending, like, if I'm really struggling. If I'm doing decent in the lane, then I'll finish Reflector. But if I'm really struggling, I'll literally just build the Seekers straight into steel plate caps if he's a really good Zed. If I'm doing fine, then I'll just finish Reflector is what I'll basically do. So you have to be able to understand the situation, okay? And be like, I'm going to sacrifice my normal build, go to a build that I wouldn't typically do because this is the build that's going to help me survive, which in terms helps you win. Because the thing you have to realize about Wild Rift is it is a mental game. Even if you can handle your mental fine, if your team thinks you're going to lose, they start to play worse, and they're like, oh, here it goes again, the same old thing. I start to lose, okay? And then it's also like the pride thing. I love Morgana as an example because she's such a versatile champion. I think she's probably the most versatile champion in the whole game. She can literally be played in 4 roles in the game. You can play her as a mid, you could play her as a top, a very bad top, but you could. You can play her as a jungler, and you can play her as a support. There's a very, 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 very small case that you could even play her as an ADC, but I wouldn't recommend it. But I think she's just the most versatile champion in the game. Another example that I see a lot of players make mistakes on For example, with itemizations, sorry, a second here. Let me go to, let me find one. Here's a good example. Okay. Look at okay, I'm not saying the Nami played bad. The Nami obviously played amazing, okay? She played amazing. She went 2, 4, and 20, okay? But look at her items. I wish I'd let you click on items. She has Harmonic Echo as her second item. Technically, you could say first because the other one's just a support item. And Harmonic Echo is an amazing item. And it's great because it gives you extra healing, it gives cooldown reduction and everything. But what's the champion she's playing with? She's playing with Jhin, okay? Jhin does his damage based on abilities and auto attacks. But he's a casting type ADC. Like, he does do a lot of his damage through his auto attacks, but he also does a lot of his damage and his utility that makes him so good. Because like you have to hit traps, you have to hit stuns in order to be an elite Jhin player because you have such slow auto attacks and because of your reload time. Okay, so what would be the thing that you would want? What's the item that you would want in order to help utilize the Jhin to get better? It would be Staff of Flowing Water. Okay, the reason why you would want an item like Staff of Flowing Water, as an example, right here, healing or shielding an ally champion grants both 15 ability haste. It helps their items to pop up faster, you know? So like if you have an ADC who's mostly like, Ezreal's like probably the greatest example. Their abilities is where most of their damage comes from and like their utility. It's a really great example of like what you're wanting and what you need in order to like help utilize your team in order to be like the most effective as well. But people really get in these like one-track mindsets of like, okay, let me just build this one way, and then they don't change. So like here's another great example of a game where itemization was done really poorly. And I'm going to use our bot lane as an example here again. Okay, I itemized actually fairly well here, so I'll use me, and I will use. Actually, I'm going to use a lot of people in this one. This game is actually has really great itemization things. So look at me. I am top lane, okay, and I played a pretty strong game. I rushed my heart. And then I was beating the Volibear top because that's who I was going against top lane. I was beating him, and I was doing fine. What's the very first item I built? Randuin's Omen. Why did I build Randuin's Omen? Because the most fed person on their team was their jungler. I'm brain farting on her name right now. So I knew in order for me, when I joined team fights, to not get blown up, is I needed that Randuin's Omen. I didn't want to build Randuin's Omen as my second item. You know what I wanted to build? I wanted to build Thornmail. That's the item I wanted. I wanted Thornmail because that would help me beat Volibear more. I could do more damage to him. I could, push the lane harder and things of that nature. That's what I wanted to build, was Thornmail. But I didn't build that because I knew what the team needed me to build was. I'm sorry, I wasn't going to Volibear. I was jungle. I don't know what the heck I'm saying. I was thinking this was a game I was playing top, but I knew that the team needed me to have Randuin's Omen. Okay. Now I want you to look at the at our top laner Ornn. He built Thornmail first, which that's fine. The very first item he built was Thornmail. Because he's going to Volibear and he just needs the anti-heal while in lane. And then he goes straight into he went straight into Heartsteel, which is great. And then he went into Frozen Heart. Okay? Frozen Heart makes no sense here. You build Frozen Heart because you're needing to slow attack speed. But these champions are attack speed based champions, but they're not. Their damage doesn't primarily come through attack speed. So like their jungler, why can't I think of her name, man? Their jungler, whatever this champion's name is right now that I can't for some reason think of, her damage isn't. She does do auto attacks, but her damage isn't based off of basic attacks primarily. Same thing with Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa's abilities is where most of her damage comes from. Like she does do damage obviously with her auto attacks, but it's her abilities. Building something like Randuin's would have been better than building Frozen Heart because Randuin's one slows attack speed and stops the anti-crit, and their jungler was the person who was fed. So you utilize, this is a terrible item buy, and he did great because he was fed, but in a game that's close, he's trolling himself and trolling the team because he's buying an item that isn't the best item for the situation, okay? You would build Frozen Heart into like more so per se like a Jax, okay? That makes more sense, into like a Jax. Or a one-on-one versus a Aurelia, something like that. That makes more sense. But to build Frozen Heart in this game, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever based on the enemy team comp, okay? Now, let's switch back down to our ADC and our support. Now, what is the main thing about this? I need you to think, and we're thinking about itemization and how to itemize, because our bot lane's itemization is really bad. It's really, really bad, okay? For this team comp that we're going against. What is the main theme that this enemy team has? Shielding. Volley bear shields. Their jungler shields. The mid shields. The ADC shields. The support shields. Not the support, not the... Obviously, they don't build tank anti-shield items, and you should never build Serpent's Fang on a tank. Just don't do it. It should be up to your mid ADC and support. If you have tank jungle, tank top, unless you're a bruiser, then you can build Serpent's Fang. But the fact that none of them built Serpent's Fang is crazy. Now, here's the thing. Once again, this game is kind of a blowout, so a lot of people are like, oh, well, it doesn't really matter because you're winning so hard. But if it was a close game, Serpent's Fang would make a massive difference. Or if you're losing, Serpent's Fang would make a massive difference. But what most kids would do is, we'll just use the Sivir example. Like, oh, this is my build. I'm going to follow this build no matter what because this is the build that I know that works. So because it's a close game or because you're losing, it'll be harder to come back because you don't have that anti-shield ability. And when you have a champion like Sivir who can use her ricochet shot, in a team fight, she can provide the Serpent's Fang shield debuff to the entire enemy team. Understanding what the enemy does and what you do so that way you can utilize that the best way as well, okay? Same thing with the Seraphine. She could have built anti-shield as well, which is a massive thing for this enemy team in order to help you win this game, okay? So that's another thing. Let me see if I can show you another one real quick. There was one that I saw that I really wanted to show because it was such a great example of what needed to happen. Where is that game? I just set to just ranked. I think was it this game? No, but here's a game where there's an example where I'm building Staff of Flowing Water early as well because of the champion that I'm playing with, and look how much we dominate the lane as well. Where is that game? So this is not the game that I was looking for, but this game would also be a really good example, okay? So what's something... No, actually, this game... I really wish I could find the game. Where is it? I may just have to just explain it myself without being able to see it. So a really big mistake that I see a lot of players make as well is building how they build anti-heal. Okay. The you see it less and less as you get high elo, but a lot of players, they finish Morellonomicon versus just building the orb. Okay, Oblivion Orb. Like, all you need to do, and they always build it so late. So an example is you'll be playing against a team like that has, let's say, Draven, because Draven's a big healing champion. They have Soraka, and then mid lane they have, let's say, a Vladimir. And then top lane they have, we'll say, a Set, because he does lots of healing. Actually, we'll do Volibear. Volibear does lots of healing as well. Volibear. And then jungle, they have, who's a healing? A champ that heals a lot in the jungle. I can't think of him right now. Let's see here. Champions. Who's a champion? Viego. Viego heals quite a bit. So, or Lilia. There you go. Lilia. And what I'll see happen so often, it literally drives me insane, okay? It absolutely drives me insane when I see this. Gosh, I just need to find one that I can show you guys. Is the order in which people build Oblivion Orb, okay? This is a good example. So obviously this is a game we won, once again. But look at their team. They have a Sona, a Jinx, a Akali, and a Gwen. Now I want to point out some things to you here. Okay? Gwen does crazy healing. Akali does heal, but not crazy. Jinx heals a lot. And then obviously Sona heals everybody and shields everybody. So I want to point out some things here as well. For me, in my lane, basically, when I go against a Gwen, I build my heart, and then straight into Bramble Vest. It's what I do every single time for the anti-heal. But look how late the Nami builds anti-heal. Okay, Nami's completed 3 items before she even built her Oblivion Orb. The Yasuo never builds anti-heal. The ADC never builds anti-heal. And once again, you say, oh, it doesn't really matter. You guys are winning really hard. You should have it either way. Winning hard or not winning hard. Because the thing is, late game, this team wins. And if you give them time to scale, we lose the game as well. And what I see so often is players are like, they'll go into games where they have super heal comps like this, and kids won't build Oblivion Orb until they've built 2 or 3 items. Or what they'll do is they will build Oblivion Orb second, and then they'll finish Morellonomicon versus just stopping at the Oblivion Orb and building Morellonomicon as literally the last thing you build as well. Another mistake, as you can see here, as the Nami made, she didn't do Staff of Flowing Water first. Lucian's abilities are his burst is all based, and his whole kit is based on utilizing his abilities. Staff of Flowing Water is a better boost for the lane than building Harmonic Echo. Okay? That's just something that like a lot of people don't realize. Now, the Yasuo, he's building Wit's End first because he's going against the Akali. He's trying not to get blown up. Sure, makes sense. He's trying not to get blown up in lane. But the thing you could do is build Wit's End so you don't get blown up in lane, and then guess what? Build Oblivion Orb right after that. Or things of that nature. Another thing that I see a lot of players do wrong, and I don't have an example of this, so I'll just kind of like show you right here. When players are building items, what they'll do, let me just pick a champion that I don't really play so I can use this as an example so I'm not messing up one of my builds. So let's say I'm playing a Moo. And a Moo is but I'm just going to say I'm going to build them all tank. Okay. And I'm going against a team that they have a Fed Jax and they have a Fed, let's say, Caitlyn. Okay. They have a Fed Jax and a Fed Caitlyn as well. And let's say your first item is Heartsteel, okay? And their Jax is jungle, and then your top lane a Moo. Okay, I know top lane Moo is kind of troll, but let's just say that that's it, okay? And you're going against a... Let's just say these are the boots you built, okay? So let's just say this is what you have right now. And they have a Fed Jax and a Fed Caitlyn. Okay. In that situation, I'm curious, like, what would be the item that you would build? Okay. What would you want to build against first? Would you want to build against the Caitlyn first? Or would you want to build against the Jax first? So there's, I think, about 3 different ways that you could look at this. And it's a very difficult situation without seeing like an in-game situation. But there's 3 different items that I'm basically thinking of and the way that I'd want to approach this, okay? And I'm going to, well, there's 4 different items that I'm thinking of. And I'm going to kind of break down each one of these items for you. So, Fed Jax, Fed Caitlyn, and let's just say you're doing decent. You're 2, 1, and 2. Okay, so you're not doing bad. You're not doing great. You're doing good. You're not like carrying, but you're not also not like losing. Let's say you're 2, 1, and 1. Okay, 2, 1, and 1 as well. So what you could do is you could build Twin Guard because now you're getting armor and you're getting magic resist as well, which is pretty great. And it gives you a slow resist while in combat. So that's pretty huge. Twin Guard would be a really great option. Okay. Another item that you could build Spirit Visage. Okay. Or you could maybe build Thornmail as well. Or you could build Randuin's Omen. Okay. Those would be some of the items that you could build. Okay. Now, what a lot of players will do is they will just say, oh, I need armor and I need magic resist. So I'm going to just build one of these items right here. Okay, I'm just going to build one of these items right now. And I'm just going to go straight into this item, or I'm going to go straight into this item, or straight into this item, straight into this item. This is where I'm telling you, this is how one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people do with itemization. That is a wrong way to do it. All of these right here would be great items to build in that situation. None of them's a bad item to build in that situation, okay? One might be better than the other. That's fine. But what would be like the best way to like approach that, okay? This would be, so you could spend 2,700 on Thornmail, 3,100 on Twin Guard, 28 on Randuin's Omen, or 28 on Spirit Visage. Or what you could do is you could do something like this. You could just buy Bramble Vest for 1,000, okay? And then you could buy Spectre's Crawl for, where's Spectre's Crawl? 1,100. So, 2,100 gold, okay? 2,100 gold doesn't buy you any of these items at all, okay? It doesn't buy you anything on this page. But 2,100 gold buys you 30 armor, also gives you magic damage, and gives you grievous wounds as well. So now you're attacking the Jax back as he attacks you and lowering his healing. You are damaging the Caitlyn while she's attacking you and lowering her healing. and you're building Spirit Visage, or I'm sorry, not Spirit Visage. You're building Spectro's Crow on yourself as well, or Cowl, sorry, and it grants 158% health regen for 10 seconds after taking damage from an empty champion. So if you have a champion that has any type of vamp or heal regenerating abilities, you're healing yourself for more, you're giving yourself more health, and you're giving yourself 20 magic resist and 30 armor. Okay? That's what you're doing. But it's so rare you'll see a player build that, stop, and then build this. What they always do is, I'm going to finish this, I'm going to finish this, I'm going to finish this, I'm going to finish this. Being a good itemizer is understanding which of the items you can build and then switch. So like as an example, yeah, you could build this guy right here. Great item. It reduces attack speed, which would be awesome into those champions, okay? This would be a great item to build. But I would rather, instead of having that, I'd rather have Bramble Vest, because now I'm stopping his healing and I'm damage him as he attacks me as well. Do I get 5 less armor? Yes. But I'd rather have them heal less, because I think healing and lifesteal is kind of broken in Wild Rift personally. And then here I can heal myself. That's like understanding of really good itemization in a team fight. But you never see players do that. They just go in and build the item they want. It really is okay to build a part of an item, to build a second tier item. Second tier items, for example, these are first tier items right down here. First tier item is the item that it starts with, then goes to, and then third tier. First, second, third, in case you didn't know what that means. But so often you don't see players. Another thing like players don't even do, sometimes you don't even want to rush into the second tier. Like there's times where I will literally just build the mantle and cloth armor. Like I'll build one of both of those. Just because like I know I need a little help from both of them. It's like, okay, I could build right now the Bramble Vest. I have 1,000 gold. I could build the Bramble Vest, but the problem is they have a Fed AP and a Fed 80 champion. What you'll even see some players do is they'll just build the Bramble Vest. Okay? But sometimes I will build just these two things and screw the Bramble Vest, because it's like, you know what? Having 20 armor and 20 magic resist is better than just having just 30 armor. I'm getting 10 more defensive stats for the exact same price. But you guys don't think about it. So many players don't think about stuff like that. That's utilizing, like, what is it that I need in order to help me win the game? It's not going to probably like, oh, I want to build what I want to build so I can hit my power spike faster. What does the team need me to build? Okay, that is the key. Like, it is the key in order to win. Like, there's so many games. I know this is an ARAM, so I don't care, but I'm just going to use an example where I'll be playing Morgana, and the team has shields and heals. And this is an ARAM, so I don't care as much. I'm not building. If it was a ranked game, if this was a ranked game, you know what my first item would have been? My very first item would have been Oblivion Orb. And then my second item would have been, what the heck is the name of that item? The anti shield item. Trident. That literally would have been my first. Even if I was mid Morgana that game, I would have built Oblivion Orb. Then I would have built probably just my first tier boots. And then I would have built Trident. Because the fact in that game, there's so much healing and so much shielding. The advantages that Oblivion Orb, and if you're not sure what Oblivion Orb is, it's this item right here. The benefits that those two items give my team is way more than me building Luden's Echo or me building Leandries, or me building Riley's Crystal Scepter as well. So what I would do in that game, as an example, like I said, let's pretend this is a game that has champions that heal a lot and shield a lot. I'm playing Morgana mid, okay? What I would have done immediately is I would have built exactly like this. I would have built this. Then I would have built boots just like this. And then right after that, I would have built this. And I'm going to say there's an Olaf on the, or not an Olaf. Let's say an Aurelia on the team. Something that's fat, or just, it doesn't have to be specific. Think of champions that just have high mobility and rely a lot on mobility. I would have built just like that. You know, I probably, before I finished this Riley's Crystal Scepter, I probably would have finished my boots by then, but I would have built just like that. Now, is this the highest damage build that I could do? No. But you know what this build is right here? This build is team support utilization like crazy. I'm anti-healing the entire team with my pools. I'm anti-shielding the entire team against champions that heal the entire team, like a Sona. And I'm slowing the entire team in team fights as well. The utility that I am providing for the team is way, way, way more valuable than building Luden's Echo, Leandries, and boots. And just having that's it. And then maybe building my my orb after that. Because literally that's about what you would have to do. You wouldn't even be able to do all that because those items are more expensive. So the items I'm talking about are 27, 26,000, okay? But the items that I would want to build are 3,000, 3,000. So I would have had, in the next team fight, probably just my boots. Actually, I probably wouldn't even have been able to finish boots. I probably would have just had Ludens, Leandries. Actually, most players, they'll finish their boots. So what I really have had is I would have had Ludens, boots, and maybe finish Leandry's Torment or almost finish Leandry's Torment. And that would be all I have. And that would be the benefits that I would be able to provide for my team. Or I could do a different type of itemization and have something like this, and I create way more value for the team and for myself. Do I do less damage? Yes. But am I a way better asset to the team? Yes. So that's kind of like a video to give you guys an idea of itemization. Give me a sec. Of itemization. There's way, way, way more I could go into it, but this has probably been a pretty long video already. I'm not even sure how long it's been. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, I'm not just spitting this out of my butt. So I have hit Grandmaster playing every single role in the game. I am a Grandmaster top laner. I'm a Grandmaster jungler. I'm a Grandmaster mid laner. I'm a Grandmaster ADC. I'm a Grandmaster support. I play Phil when I go, and I've done it maining each role too. Like a lot of times now, like this season, I just play Phil. A lot of times, if I solo queue, I play Phil. But every single season, I have mained a specific role and hit GM playing that role. So like, I do know what I'm talking about and stuff as well. The highest I've ever been ranked is top 110 as well. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.